What is going on, guys? Today I'm going to be talking about a lot of people's favorite character, Roronoa Zoro. So pretty much a few days ago there were people talking in the verse discussion channel on my Discord, which by the way, if you do not have access to right now, make sure you check the description of this video, or really all of my videos, and you'll see a link to the Discord. You can get Discord, join it. Got a lot of people in here for my channel talking about awesome stuff related to One Piece and other anime as well, but mainly One Piece. A lot of cool things, like I just said, verse discussion, One Piece theories, ideas for videos I can make in the future. I'd love to see even more of you in there. We're already like pushing 400 right now, so it's looking good. We're going to be doing some cool verse debate things, so a lot of people in the Discord will actually appear in videos on my channel, so that is something to look forward to. Make sure you do get in the Discord if you have not already. But anyway, like I was just saying, so this all started because people were talking in the verse discussion channel saying that, you know, we don't really know how strong Zoro really is. And the thing is, I kind of agree with that to an extent. As much as we can speculate how strong we think Zoro is going to end up being in Wano when we get to see him have a real fight, hopefully. I mean, he's got to have a real fight, right? So the thing is, right, you know, we haven't actually seen anything too big in the New World that he's actually done. Every opponent he's gone up against has been a complete blowout. It's never been a real battle. So it's like, well, can we really say that he's that strong just because he's blowing these people out, or do we kind of have to wait until we see something? And pretty much the way I see it, while it's not confirmed or anything, we haven't really seen anything from him. That is true. A lot of the time we kind of can jump to some conclusions. There are some things we can assume, and while I'm not saying those assumptions are necessarily correct, I think it's just fair to kind of keep them in our minds at this point. Until they are proven wrong, it's fair to assume them. And so that's pretty much what I'm going to be talking about in this video. I'm going to be explaining how strong I think Zoro is based on all the hype he's been given, based on what we have seen from him. So let's get right into this shit. So pretty much, and I've actually mentioned this in a lot of videos, where I think Zoro stands compared to Sanji and Luffy is I think he is pretty decently stronger than Sanji. I think if they were to have an all-out battle, he would, in the worst case scenario for him, he would mid-diff Sanji. I don't think it would be like completely easy, I suppose, but it's not like he'd be particularly struggling or anything like that. So there's for the Sanji situation. Now Luffy is where things get tricky, okay? I think as of right now, at the conclusion of Whole Cake Island and the beginning of Reverie, I think that Zoro is just slightly below Luffy. I think if those two were to battle full on, it would be very similar to the Akainu versus Aokiji battle. I think it would be like a possibly multi-day battle of them just going at it non-stop. They would probably destroy an entire island or something to that degree if they were to go at it to the death. While of course I do think Luffy would end up winning this battle, I think it would be extremely close. And here's the crazy thing about this. I'm not making any assumptions about Zoro having been training in Wano or some bullshit while they're in Whole Cake Island, so I'm not accounting for that. So clearly everyone is in agreement, at least as far as I've seen, that Luffy has possibly gained more power in this battle against Katakuri than any other time in the series, even in the Water 7 arc. That could be the only exception when he unlocked Gear 2nd and 3rd, or not really unlocked, he developed them. That was a huge jump in power, and that could be the biggest one, but if not, it was most certainly this Katakuri fight right here. So because of that, it begs the question, if Luffy became so much more powerful during this Whole Cake Island arc, and Zoro is now just barely below him, was Zoro potentially stronger than Luffy in Fishman Island, Punk Hazard, Dressrosa? Could he have actually been stronger than Luffy at the time? And I'm sure a lot of people are going to be thinking that I'm just saying this because I want them to be super close in power all the time, and this is the only real way for it to make sense. I just want Zoro to be really close to Luffy after Whole Cake Island, even though Luffy has gotten way stronger now. But that's just not the case. I mean, you can go back and see my videos from a while ago, before the Luffy vs. Katakuri fight even started, and I've been saying that this is a possibility, that Zoro actually could have been the strongest member of the crew before the Luffy vs. Katakuri fight. And I really don't even think it's that far-fetched. I know a lot of people are sitting here like, oh my god, this guy's such a fucking idiot. Luffy always has to be the strongest, that's how shonen works. Well, Not really. I mean, that's just not true. Seriously, I mean, really look at the shonen going on recently, like My Hero. The tournament arc there, he only made it to the semis, right? The main character only made it to the semis. And honestly, I think the most hyped fight really was between the top two people. Screw the main character, right? The most hyped fight was the final battle where he wasn't even involved. There's no rule saying that at any point Luffy has to be the strongest on the crew, while I do think he is now. But, you know, this is not a typical shonen anyway. This is One Piece where shit that no one ever expects happens all the time. Oda loves shitting on tropes, and I don't see why he wouldn't do that right here. And besides, with the exception of the Kaku fight, he has pretty much shit on every single one of his opponents. It's never really been this super close battle except for that one time. I mean, even look in Thriller Bark, he defeated Ryuma decently easily. I mean, it wasn't like a complete blowout, but he was not like, you know, on the brink of death. I mean, he had more than enough energy to continue to try to fight Kuma after all was said and done. Not to mention, after everything had gone down in Thriller Bark and he was pretty exhausted, he was able to take all of Luffy's damage and survive, despite the fact that Kuma said there is no way that any human being could ever survive that, especially with Zoro already on the brink of death. But as we got to see, he just jumps right in there and whatever. I guess, you know, some people wake up a few hours later, find him, and it's like, yep, he did that. That was a thing, for sure. I mean, people think that Luffy is so powerful because of his absolutely absurd endurance, right? That is the reason he was able to do so well against Katakuri. He was able to endure the fight for so long. However, then we have people like Zoro, who isn't even made of rubber, so he doesn't get any bonus endurance like that, who just takes these ridiculous amounts of damage and is just fine with it. He's just like, yep, cool, let's go to the next island, I guess. But all of this stuff I am talking about is not in the New World, it is before the time skip, and maybe some people thought that the gap was a lot smaller back then, and we need to be talking about the New World, where we have not seen much from Zoro. And I agree, that is probably the most important part to talk about, so let's get to that. The first battle we really get to see is him in Fishman Island versus the Drunken Swordsman. Again, of course, this was a complete blowout. There was no contest there. He even said that this was a warm-up for the New World. Now, the thing is, of course, like with all of these opponents I'm going to be mentioning, it's kind of a matter of, well, I mean, is it that impressive if it's a blowout, or like, you know, are these people kind of just shitty? Like, could even maybe Nami have blown these people up? I mean, I don't think the guy was like super strong or anything, but he was on a decent amount of steroids at the time, so he had to be at least worth something, and Zoro did absolutely annihilate him, so that is decent in my opinion. In Punk Hazard, we get to watch Monet versus Tashigi while Zoro just sits in the background because he doesn't want to interfere, and Tashigi pretty much gets shit on. It's kind of embarrassing, and she is built up to be decently powerful at this point. She does have both hakis, so she should be able to do a decent amount of damage, but the fact of the matter is that Monet has a pretty powerful Logia, and she's at least decent in combat herself, so Tashigi can't really handle it. Then when it looks like shit's about to hit the fan, Zoro decides that he has to step in, and the battle is pretty much over before it's even started, right? I mean, the guy just intimidates the shit out of Monet, and he goes for an attack without even using haki to split her in half, and boom, she can't even piece herself back together like a normal Logia could, because she was so intimidated. A lot of people have a very different perception of how that went down. I think it's pretty clear. I mean, he wasn't using Conqueror's haki by any means, and he just kind of did his intimidation face, right? I don't know, it seemed pretty clear to me. But so right, I mean, she was able to beat Tashigi decently easily, and he comes in here, and I mean, it was so outrageous how badly he beat her down. I mean, he has to have some ridiculous level of confidence in his own abilities to be able to pull off something like intimidating to the point that they can't really even move. That's powerful. Then we get to Dressrosa, where he finally battles Pika, who is pretty much built up to be the strongest of the executives after Vergo was defeated. And while, you know, Zoro clearly was significantly stronger than him, it wasn't too much of a match, he was supposed to be pretty decent. I mean, he was able to use full body haki. He also seemed very confident in himself. He seemed to believe that his own haki would be stronger than Zoro's, so that's kind of worth noting, I suppose. And, I mean, while the other ones were pretty big blowouts as well, this might have been the most ridiculous showing of Zoro's power. Maybe it wasn't as big of a blowout, but what he was able to actually accomplish was outstanding. It could very well have been more destructive power we saw from him than anything Luffy could accomplish. I mean, not even including when Pika went out of stone form and battled Zoro. That's whatever. That was just too easy for Zoro. When he was in his giant form and Zoro just launches himself across the country and just starts cutting this thing in half, one piece at a time. That was so outrageous. It gives us a showing of how this whole, limit to how long your sword thing is, that's not real. There's really no limit, since you can just launch slashes now. Zoro can do that whenever he wants. That probably has more range than Luffy. Luffy can't stretch, but I mean, Zoro was shooting these things pretty far, right? Like, Luffy does have some kind of limit to how much he can stretch, where Zoro's just launching these missiles of pure power that are literally cutting mountains, and not even really small mountains. This thing was a pretty big mountain. He's destroying it. He just kept cutting that thing in half till he narrowed it down to just Pika being there. Goes in, one-shots him, GG. He's expended no energy at all whatsoever. He wasn't even really sweating after that. He just climbs back up the castle and is like, alright guys, I guess we should probably go stop this birdcage or something, huh? I think Luffy's gonna handle Dofi. Let's just try and stop this thing, buy some time for him. So in terms of actual battles post-time skip, that's all we've got from Zoro, unfortunately. Hopefully we get to see more in Wano. But another important thing to consider, I know a lot of people haven't really thought of this. So it's pretty obvious, right, that Zoro is stronger than Sanji. I think the people that used to contest that pretty much got to be done by now, especially with Sanji's kind of weak performance in Whole Cake Island. So here's the thing, right? We got to see Judge versus Sanji a little bit. It wasn't like a full-blown battle, but it was definitely something, and it seemed like Sanji did have the upper hand if it wasn't for the fact that Judge was using his bodies and whatnot, and Sanji just kind of was holding back, if you ask me, since he has a soft spot for his family for whatever reason. I think it's pretty clear that Sanji would have defeated Judge in an all-out battle. And now here's the key here. Judge is top 5. Top 5 strongest characters easily in the series, so that means if Sanji's stronger than Judge and Zoro is stronger than Sanji, then at the very least, Zoro has to be the 3rd strongest character in the series. So that's something really important. Now let me pose you another question, the one everyone's asking, the one everyone wants to know the answer to. Here we go. How many people have already commented below saying that I'm an idiot because that logic is broken and Judge is not top 5 anyway? That's the real question. Who did not get the joke that I was making? Comment below how many you think. But no, on the real though, I would actually just like to mention that I think it's very important to note that Luffy and Zoro is pretty much extremely comparable to Roger and Rayleigh. Zoro in every way, shape, and form is being built up to be exactly like Rayleigh, especially with the whole Scar thing going on now. That's pretty important. And I really think that Rayleigh is currently one of the strongest characters in the universe. I'm not saying that Zoro is equal to Rayleigh in any way, shape, or form. I think he would get schooled by Rayleigh at this point. But he is going to get to that level eventually, and I like to imagine that Roger could not have been that much stronger than Rayleigh. I think it was definitely, like, for sure, there's no debating it, he would win every single time, but he had to be extremely close. I mean, look at what we're seeing from Rayleigh right now while he has gray hair, while he's like 70 years old. He's taking on Kizaru, and I think that if they had a full-out battle, if he wouldn't have decided to just escape, I think he could have actually defeated Kizaru. I think there's a lot of reason to believe that, especially since in their battle, he was like, oh man, I really wish I could help these guys, and Kizaru was just sitting there like, dog, you're fending off a Navy admiral right now, and you're wishing you could do more? As in, like, Kizaru doesn't really think that he could stop Rayleigh. He even said, oh no, I'm in trouble here. I mean, come on. The guy's got to be super powerful. If he is able to just solo Kizaru and really, I don't know, probably not take too much damage, I think Zoro is going to end up being like that, and he's got to be extremely close to Luffy in power at all time. I mean, come on, guys. So that's pretty much all I gotta say on Zoro. Remember, I'm not saying that this stuff is just confirmed. I am 100% sure that Zoro is going to be just under Luffy and he was stronger than him before the Katakuri fight. I'm not saying it's confirmed at all. I'm just saying that's how I'm seeing it. I think that that is the most likely scenario at this point. And I think in Wano, everyone's going to be satisfied because we're going to get a real answer to how strong he is. I think he will end up taking on one of the Calamities, possibly Jack. If you enjoyed this video, remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Remember to leave me a comment letting me know what you thought about this video. If I have no idea what I'm talking about, if Zoro is not even close to as strong as Luffy in power now, Luffy's just gotten way too strong. He has some degree of future sight. Zoro probably doesn't have anything like that. And I'm just an idiot. Make sure, again, if you have not already, to check the description for the link to my Discord. We got a lot of people in there having fun every single day. I was just in voice chat last night talking to like 12 or 13 different people all at once. It was so fun. I love talking to you guys, and I'd like to see even more of you in there. I hope you guys have an excellent day, an excellent rest of your weekend, and I'll talk to you on Wednesday.